John from DominoWorldRecord.com here with another episode of This Day in Domino History. From 1998 through 2009, domino toppling was defined by the Domino Day broadcasts on Dutch TV, with teams of up to 90 people setting up chains of millions of dominoes, setting a Guinness World Record almost every year. But did you know that the largest team ever assembled to attempt a Domino World Record was brought together by a St. Louis man named Jerry Clerc way back in 1982? If you didn't know that, you're not alone. The achievement of Jerry's team fell through the cracks of world record history because the chain of 306,500 dominoes they toppled on March 21st, 1982 never was certified as a record by Guinness. Why, you might ask? Well, on the 44th anniversary of this topple, it's time to shed some light on one of the most unique stories in domino toppling history and reveal the unusual reason why Jerry's team ended up never making it into the Guinness Book of World Records. Back in the late 1970s, Jerry Clerc was a psychiatric specialist living in St. Louis, Missouri, who founded Behavior Change, a nonprofit organization that helped prison inmates through the use of cartoon drawing therapy. Like many people of that era, Jerry saw Bob Specka's 1978 appearance on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and was blown away by the 7,000 domino display Bob created. Recognizing that domino toppling was fun, exciting, and got everyone's attention, Jerry thought it would be the perfect vehicle to promote his organization's mission and maybe even do a little fundraising for it. So he decided to contact Specka. During their phone call, Bob actually encouraged Jerry to go for the world record and even gave him the name of a person at the Milton Bradley Company whom he could contact about donating dominoes. After Jerry talked to the Milton Bradley Company and they agreed to send him 220,000 dominoes, he thought, maybe I could go for the world record. But he had a full-time job and had never toppled more than a handful of dominoes in his life. How could he possibly accomplish such a huge task on his own? Well, the solution that Jerry eventually hit upon was quite brilliant and never had been done before. Jerry Clerc would be the very first person to bring crowdsourcing to world record domino toppling. In today's internet age, social media has made the ideas of crowdsourcing and crowdfunding very commonly known by the public. However, back in the early 1980s, while these concepts certainly existed, hardly anyone knew about them, which made Jerry's world record plan all the more unique. Early in the summer of 1981, Jerry was ready to try out his idea after recruiting 15 volunteers to help set up over 5,000 dominoes in, of all places, a Mexican restaurant. After moving tables and chairs to clear out part of the floor, the team got to work and started setting up dominoes for several hours while the diners watched in fascination. The topple was a success and even got local newspaper and TV coverage. And the team had a great time laughing and smiling as they set up the dominoes, and the patrons at the restaurant cheered as the dominoes toppled. Jerry knew he was onto something. After the restaurant topple, it was one of Jerry's side projects that provided the next opportunity to expand his domino experience. He ran a Saturday morning church program that helped men on parole or probation by having them meet and talk with local business people and attorneys. On a whim, Jerry brought several big boxes of dominoes to the meeting with him one Saturday. After the group session was over, he invited everyone to get on the floor with him and set up dominoes. After getting over the initial surprise of the request, everyone joined in, and they ended up having a great time as they built a huge domino chain. The reaction was so positive that Jerry continued to do this with his church group every Saturday for the next month. By the end of that summer, Jerry decided he really did want to go for the world record. But Erez and I had pushed that number up to 255,389 the year prior, so he didn't have enough dominoes to beat our record. That meant Jerry had to call his contact at the Milton Bradley Company to ask for more dominoes, which he did. When the gentleman from Milton Bradley called back about his request, the man asked Jerry if he was sitting down. Jerry was absolutely shocked when he heard they would be giving him 2 million dominoes. Jerry couldn't believe his incredibly good fortune, and his good fortune continued because his brother Mark owned a moving and storage company. So he was able to get all those dominoes shipped for free from the factory in Chicago to St. Louis. Suddenly, Jerry's priorities were finding lots of storage space and figuring out how to reach his goal. Rather than trying to do a world record topple right away, he opted for a gradual approach instead. So in early October of 1981, Jerry put out word for volunteers to come set up dominoes over a weekend in a local high school gym. And the folks who showed up ended up creating a 20,000 domino topple. There were challenges with learning on the job how to set up dominoes and with getting all the separate parts connected into a single chain. But Jerry and his team met those challenges. And while the chain did stop a couple of times during the topple, Jerry kept things positive and encouraged the volunteers to learn from their mistakes. One of those volunteers was Jerry McNeal, who worked as a herpetologist at the St. Louis Zoo. Jerry Clerc had previously met Mr. McNeal when both of them had been featured in a locally published book titled Show Me Missouri's 150 Most Eligible Bachelors. Now, Jerry McNeal joining the team at this particular time was really a key moment in the journey towards the world record, because Jerry McNeal had a lot of organizational and creative skills that he brought with him. And they became very crucial to the team as Jerry Clerc's volunteer corps grew over the coming months. A few weeks later, most of the volunteers came back to help with the next topple at the same high school gym, and they were joined by a bunch of new volunteers. Now, this time around, Jerry Clerc's goal was to try to set up twice as many dominoes as they did previously. So the people who worked on the last topple started helping the newbies learn how to set up dominoes. And at this point, Jerry McNeal began to kind of take a leadership role in that effort. When everything was done, the team met their goal of setting up 40,000 dominoes in 2 days, and the topple was a success. This became the team building formula going forward. Jerry Clerc would put out the call for new volunteers. The returning people with domino experience would help teach the new folks. And Jerry McNeal would keep everyone on track as they set up the dominoes. With the volunteers coming together so well during those first 2 topples, along with his recent 2 million domino windfall, Jerry Clerc began envisioning a new goal, one that went beyond simply breaking the world record. Jerry's ultimate dream was to have 1,000 people set up 1 million dominoes all in one day. Now, at this point, there still was a long way to go just to get to the world record, but Jerry kept this new ambition in mind as things moved forward. And things were moving forward very quickly for the 2 Jerrys. As the size of the volunteer team grew with each topple, they did weekend setups of 102,000 in late November and 111,000 in December to close out 1981. And then they started 1982 with a topple of 125,000 in January and 200,000 in February, which meant that the topple in March of 1982 would be the one to break the world record. Needing a bigger space for the world record, Jerry approached the Greensfelder Recreational Complex at Queenie Park about using their indoor ice rink area. He was able to get that space for 4 days. Now, over the past 6 months, many of the topples they did stopped midway through. And so Jerry wanted to have this extra time to make sure there was enough time to complete the build. If the team was going to go for the world record, they had to make darn sure that everything was going to work from start to finish. And the team that showed up this time for the world record build was the biggest one yet, 139 volunteers strong. Jerry McNeal used all of his experience from the past 6 months of topples to try and get this large group of people all working together. And he did a great job. But that was on top of his responsibility of setting up all of the domino stunts that he had designed, including this 12-foot high staircase that was almost 49 feet long. Near the end of the build, Jerry McNeal and other team members were up on step ladders, carefully, very carefully placing dominoes on every single step of that staircase. If any domino fell to the floor, it could have been a disaster. Early in the evening of Sunday, March 21st, 1982, after 4 long days of work, the setup of 306,500 dominoes was complete, and the team started doing their final checks before spectators started filing into the bleachers. Then at about 7 p.m., with 2,000 people watching, the first domino was pushed to start the massive chain reaction. Somewhere along the way, Jerry Clerc, decked out in his three-piece suit, was dancing alongside the dominoes as they fell around the perimeter of the setup. And the chain just kept going and going for 23 minutes from start to finish until the last domino fell. The crowd cheered, the team hugged and congratulated each other, and the two Jerrys were all smiles. This volunteer team of 139 people had just set a new domino toppling world record. Or did they? Back in January, Jerry Clerc and Jerry McNeal wrote a letter to David Bohm, the American editor of the Guinness Book of World Records, letting him know about their plans of having a team of about 150 people topple a chain of at least 300,000 dominoes. The letter Mr. Bohm sent back at the end of January wished them well on their plans, but it had some bad news in it. He said that the Guinness Book only included domino records for a single person or a team of 2. They would not accept a claim by such a large team as they were planning to use. Now, to understand this decision by Guinness, it helps to have a little bit of historical context here. When the domino toppling category first appeared in the 1976 edition, Guinness had 2 claims to consider: 11,111 done by Bob Specca and 13,382 done by 6 University of Washington students. Instead of starting off this new category with separate team and solo entries, Guinness looked solely at the number of dominoes toppled. So the University of Washington team record is the one that appeared in the 1976 book. Guinness continued using this total number of dominoes criteria, so the next 4 editions all listed only 1 record, which all happened to be solo records. It wasn't until the 1981 edition that Guinness finally opened a team category, when a New Zealand team's topple of 229,488 was listed as a team of 4 record, alongside Michael Kearney's solo record of 169,713. Then in the 1982 edition, the topple of 255,389 that Erez and I did in Japan replaced the New Zealand topple and was listed as the team of 2 record. After our Japan record, there were 5 team record claims submitted to Guinness from 1982 through 1987, the first of which was Jerry Clerc's topple. And Guinness rejected all of them because the teams had 3 or more people. Apparently, when Guinness opened up the team category, they didn't mean any size team. It seems like they meant the smallest possible team, which of course ended up being 2 people. That's why the record that Erez and I did in Japan stayed in the Guinness Book until the 1988 edition. It wasn't until the 1989 edition that Guinness changed the rules. That year, they listed a topple of 1,382,101 dominoes as the team record, and it was done by a Dutch team of 30 people on January 2nd, 1988. Guinness finally was accepting any size team, and this shift paved the way for all those Domino Day teams that included up to 90 people to set records from 1998 through 2009. So when Jerry Clerc and Jerry McNeal got that letter back from David Bohm at Guinness, it must have been devastating. But they still moved forward with their world record plans. However, when the last of the 306,500 dominoes fell and the team of volunteers was celebrating, Jerry Clerc and Jerry McNeal already knew that their effort was not going to make it into the Guinness Book of World Records. Looking at this story today, if the rules Guinness currently uses had been in place back then, this St. Louis team of 139 volunteers, the largest team ever assembled to attempt a domino toppling world record, led by Jerry Clerc and Jerry McNeal, would have made it into the 1983 Guinness Book of World Records, replacing Erez and me as the team world record holders for domino toppling. So 44 years later, we want to recognize and celebrate their incredible achievement here on this day in domino history. And it also should be noted that this 1982 topple of 306,500 dominoes still stands today as the US and North American record. Oh yeah, and about that ultimate dream of Jerry's to have 1,000 people set up 1 million dominoes in one day, well, he did try to make that happen after the world record topple. In fact, here is a flyer that he created to advertise the plans for it. And here's a brochure that he printed up that inside people could sign up and give them their information and be one of the 1,000 volunteers. So he was trying to do it after the world record topple. But as so often happens, life got in the way of those plans, and the big million domino topple never materialized. But you know what? Erez and I think that Jerry's million dominoes in one day topple is an incredibly great idea. And we hope that someone out there in the domino community thinks so too. So if you see this and want to make that kind of topple a reality one day, we hope you'll do it. And when you do, make sure you do it in honor of the two Jerrys from St. Louis. We'll catch you again on the next This Day in Domino History. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and check out dominoworldrecord.com for the latest news on our plans to attempt another world record in the coming years. If you're an experienced builder and want to work with some of the best domino artists on the planet, we'd love for you to join the Domino Dream Team. Our team needs 100 more topplers to show sponsors our community is ready to go after a world record of at least 5 million dominoes. So sign up today.